Welcome to episode number 264, where I'm speaking with Kaela about her journey with Ayurveda. She talks about her different experiences on the Digestive Reset Cleanse, really tuning into her body and feeling the effects of food on her body and mind. She talks about the importance of her morning and evening routines and how she's now bringing Ayurveda into her job as a social worker. So please stay tuned. Welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host, Colette, and I hope to educate and empower you to take charge of your health and well-being, preventing disease in the body and mind so that you can thrive in life. I will be sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, which is the ancient healing tradition from India. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend listening to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. And if you like the content, please be sure to subscribe or follow the podcast so the new episodes will automatically download for you. Also, you may want to check out my private Elements community, which is away from social media. It's a safe space for like-minded people to come together, to connect, to share, to support each other, and to continue the conversation from the podcast episodes. Check out the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and just click on the community tab. And I hope to connect with you there. Thanks for listening. And now here's a new episode. This episode is sponsored by Banyan Botanicals. Now that we're in winter, you may be looking for ways to stay healthy and balanced through the season. Banyan Botanicals is my go-to for seasonal support, offering everything from cleansing products to cozy teas, creamy drink mixes, massage oils, and herbal immune support. Also, as a certified B Corporation, I love that Banyan mindfully makes their Ayurvedic products with pure organic ingredients. Try out my personal favorite, the Daily Massage Oil. This oil is made with herbs to help rejuvenate the body and calm the mind, plus it smells divine. To save on Daily Massage Oil and other health essentials from a brand you can trust, go check out Banyan Botanicals. If you're outside the US, you can find Banyan's full line of products at the Vedic store or Ayurvedic Herbs Direct. For those in the US, save 15% site-wide on your first purchase when you shop at banyanbotanicals.com/elements. And you'll find that link in the show notes. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. Today, I'm very happy to introduce you to Kaela. Kaela and I have been working together recently over the past couple of years, and she has been very kind to agree to come on today and share her journey with Ayurveda. Kaela, hello.
Hi. Thanks, Colette, for having me on your podcast. I'm so grateful.
Oh, well, I am grateful and thank you for coming on to share your story. People love these real life stories about implementing Ayurveda into your life. So tell us, Kaela, to start with, can you tell the listeners where you're from and a little bit about yourself, please?
For sure. So I am originally from Saskatchewan, which is in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm living in Castlegar, BC, British Columbia. I grew up in a small town on a farm. From there, I went to university in Regina and I got my social work degree. I worked as a social worker in Regina for about 2 years before I decided to move to BC. While I was in Saskatchewan, I found my passion for fitness, and so I became a personal trainer. When I first moved to British Columbia, I continued my passion and work as a social worker, but I also continued as a personal trainer as well. When I was still living in Saskatchewan around 2018, I started having this like reddish bumpiness, irritation looking rash around my nose. And it's something that I really didn't like. It wasn't sightly, and it took a hit on my self-esteem. So I ended up going to see a doctor And basically all they did for me was provide me a steroid cream to basically mask it. But at that point, like, I wasn't really into holistic health. I just put it on. It was just something I did. And it went away, and then I would stop and then it would come back. And then I struggled with this for 2 years. And I still struggled with it when I moved to Prince George. And in June 2020, I decided I was done with the steroid cream. I don't really know what came over me, but I was like, no, like, I'm done. So I stopped taking it, or like applying it, and it got really bad. It got really red. I had like a big shiny red nose. Like, I felt like that's what everyone looked at when they first saw me. So it really sucked. So like that, but it motivated me to make changes. So like, I tried fixing it by myself. So I like just Googled some things. So I started kind of switching to more organic, natural things. I was very adamant that I didn't want to put makeup on it, even though like at least that would cover it. But I'm like, I think makeup will just irritate it. So I just like let it do its thing. I started putting like different oils on it, aloe vera, because like I was just playing around with things that I found on the internet, and some things made it better, but like it would always return. So basically I was at a loss, and I started working with a holistic nutritionist in, I think it was September 2020. And that's kind of where my whole journey of holistic health started, where I realized that food and lifestyle can make the biggest difference. Mm-hmm. So I was working with her for about 2 months, maybe, where she suggested different foods. I cut out the alcohol I was drinking. I stopped working out so much, which was very hard for me at the time, because I was like, I was in a new place still. I had like really no friends, and the gym was kind of my safe place.
Right.
And also it was COVID. So it was very challenging. It was just like a whole lot of not good things happening at once.
Yeah.
But yeah, so through her, I changed my diet and my lifestyle, and within 4 months, the rash had disappeared. And it was something I was struggling with for 2 years. And just by changing my diet and my workout routine, it had healed itself, which I was like, wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that was in 2020.
Yes.
So it stayed away then.
It stayed away. So I healed from the inside out.
That's fantastic. In Ayurveda, we say that on the skin can be a reflection also of the emotions. And obviously you were going through a lot of shifts and changes in your life at that time, with moving and being in a new place.
Yeah. There was a lot of changes all at once. And that was just another change, as I was like I said, I don't know what came over me, but I'm like, no, like, I'm done. I wanted to try something new, and I did. And I'm so thankful about it. And it opened so many doors for me.
Absolutely. That started you on your journey then.
Yes. And in Prince George, this is where I found my love for yoga, which led me to find Ayurveda.
So were you taking yoga classes at that stage? Or were you studying yoga?
I was taking yoga classes.
Okay.
So just at a studio, yeah.
Okay. And so then it was at that studio you learned about Ayurveda.
Yes. The owner of the studio in Prince George, she was offering a kind of like a basic Ayurvedic cleanse. And she told me a little bit about it, and it caught my interest. And then I ended up doing that cleanse and fell in love with Ayurveda.
Great. So when was that? Do you recall?
That was October 2021.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Great. So that was a great intro in person through your yoga class, which is fantastic. And of course, you already had an interest in health your personal
Yes.
training. So, and that's what I found, because I used to be a personal trainer back in the day. And when I learned about Ayurveda and the fact like, oh my goodness, tailoring, to a person's dosha, tailoring their workouts to their dosha was just great, because I felt like I wasn't making big shifts in their life. But then when I was learning about the doshas and going, oh, I need to look at a person's unique constitution and tailor the workouts and the advice and the dietary advice and so on to their unique constitution. That was a game changer, I found.
Absolutely. And I basically quit personal training soon after learning about Ayurveda. So I didn't really relate the two, but it is definitely very important.
So tell us a little bit about your journey. So you started learning about it through the yoga studio and then did the cleanse there. And I think we spoke first in the end of 2021.
Yeah, November, I think.
Yeah. So you took advantage of the free call I have, and we chit chatted then.
Yeah. So the free call, I was like, so through the owner at the yoga studio, because Ayurveda was all new. So she recommended your podcast.
Oh.
So I started listening to your podcast prior to the cleanse, and I was just like, oh my God, it was just like a huge shift for me of like, this makes so much sense. And I just like, I fell in love with it and grew from there. So from the podcast and meeting with you, like, I think our first meeting was just like, what books do you recommend for me to start this journey?
Right. Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah. So then from there, I just I did the cleanse, and I continued to listen to the podcast every time I was driving, which was a lot. Started at episode number 1, and I think now I'm on like 200 and some.
Oh my goodness. And so then you joined the group cleanse. It was in January 2022, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And we had our 90-minute consultation. And I recall at the time, tell me if I'm correct, that there was quite a bit of stress, like with work.
Yeah. So that was January 2022 was when I just moved from Prince George to Castlegar.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
My vata was wild.
Yes. With that move. That's right.
Yes. Yeah. With the cold and the wind. Yeah. So it was a lot, and it was nice to have that awareness, because like was starting to learn more about Ayurveda. I was like, okay, I can see where these imbalances are coming from. Because when I first moved to Prince George, it was February 2020, and I was experiencing like I couldn't sleep. I was up till like 2 a.m. and that was very, very weird for me. And same with like bowel movements. They were just very irregular. I'm like, this is not who I am. So, and at that time I had no idea about the doshas and being out of balance. So I was just like, I just carried on with my life and hoping it would figure itself out, which it eventually did. Mm. But yeah, now that the second move I did, it was good to know kind of like what was happening behind the scenes in my body.
Right. And can you tell us a little bit about the experience? Because you joined the group cleanse, like I said, in January 22. And I remember one of your feedback was like, oh, I'm really experiencing the real signs of hunger.
Yeah. So when I first moved to Castlegar, it was basically just me and my partner both quit our jobs, and we were just planning on snowboarding for the winter season. Which meant no working. We were just spending lots of time together and eating really good meals, because my boyfriend loves to cook. Always had like a full-time job, typically Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 or whatever. So not having a job to wake up to or like any type of schedule was actually very challenging. Probably the most challenging thing that was happening for me at that time. So to create a routine that worked for me, that didn't like require me like waking up for a reason to go to work. It was challenging, but it was very helpful and to get me back into my routine, because I am very a routine person, always have been. And without that routine, it was definitely havoc on my body.
Yeah, because you're kapha dominant, and that not having that morning routine right? And eating later in the evening and then sleeping later. It was causing a lot of cough aggravation as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, because like I am very much a morning person, typically,
Yeah.
but I was sleeping in and I definitely could feel that heaviness as I slept in later in the morning.
Yeah.
And we were definitely overindulging. And I was feeling that heaviness after eating, like I could take naps. So the cleanse came at a perfect time where I was definitely completely out of balance with Vata, but also seeing some signs of Kapha.
Yeah.
So with the cleanse, yeah, I was able to kind of flush out all the stagnant energies. And in the mornings where I was not feeling hungry at all, I started to feel like my tummy was grumbling and I was like actually wanting to eat before like 9 a.m. So
that's great. Yeah. And I know as well, you were doing a lot of journaling as well as you were going through that cleanse too. Lots of stuff coming up for you.
Yeah, emotionally it was wild. Lots of past things were coming up where I was like I knew they happened, but I like forgot about them. Like I suppressed them, which is definitely a Kapha thing to do. So the cleanse, yeah, not only physically like reset me, emotionally like was able to release some stored emotions that were in my body.
I'm going to jump in here because if you're listening to Kaela's journey with Ayurveda and particularly her cleansing journey and you're interested in partaking in a digestive reset cleanse, I want to let you know that I have a discounted group Digestive Reset Cleanse starting January 27th, 2023. This group cleanse comes with a private 90-minute online consultation with me so that I can tailor the cleanse to your current health status. You'll receive access to private coaching webinars, which are pre-recorded, yoga videos for your dosha, meditation, pranayama tutorials, of course, recipes, and also group support. I have a private community where we will support each other and hold each other accountable. Now, if that date of January 27th doesn't work for your schedule, you can choose a private cleanse, the same structure, and you will just have me one-on-one for support, and you get to choose your own dates. To check out more info or to register, you can go to my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. For the January 27th discounted group cleanse, go to the events tab, and for a private cleanse, to choose your own dates, go to the programs tab. And you'll find those links in the show notes also. This episode is sponsored by New World Ayurveda. If you're interested in working with client case studies from day one of your training, consider becoming an Ayurvedic practitioner through New World Ayurveda School. This way you learn the theory of Ayurveda at the same time as you learn how to apply it practically. Get a head start on working with clients by learning Ayurveda through being exposed to the most common problems clients face and how to correct them with diet, lifestyle, and herbs. The other interesting thing about New World Ayurveda is that you start learning pulse diagnosis from the very first day. They have had the most experience teaching Ayurveda online than any other Ayurveda school, and they have developed ways of teaching pulse diagnosis at a distance. And you get the chance to study Ayurveda with an MD through Ayurveda's premier online school, New World Ayurveda. For more information, go to newworldayurveda.com, and you'll also find that link in the show notes. So that was like the first layers of your Ayurveda journey. So that was in January 22 that you did my first group cleanse.
Yeah. So from January to October, I definitely dove more into Ayurveda.
Right.
I did sign up for an Ayurvedic course, which is a 2-year program. And so that didn't start until August, but through that time I continued reading books, continued to listen to your podcast. And yeah, my knowledge has just continued to grow since like October 2021 when I first got introduced to it.
Yeah, I love that you're so intrigued by it and you continued your studies. And I could really tell because on this second cleanse, when you came back just October of this year, that you were really, your understanding of Ayurveda was so much deeper. So we were able to go deeper in the consultation. I was able to explain a little bit more to you, and even throughout the cleanse, right? You're like, can I just ask you a little bit more about this? And I love that. I thought it was great that you were asking so many questions. So can you tell us the experience now on the second group cleanse? How was that for you?
Yeah, so the second cleanse with you, so it was really my third cleanse because I did two with
Exactly.
you and one prior to. So the most recent cleanse in October, I found it easier actually. Things are starting to make more sense and they just kind of fall into place, and eating more intuitively. So waking up in the morning wasn't a challenge because I've been doing that.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Because when you have now those foundations from, you've been on this journey, almost a year, and you had that foundations of, my morning routine and my evening routine. So that was in place and you knew what to expect now this second time on the cleanse. You knew the foods, although you did have different imbalances.
Yeah,
Right.
this is true. Yeah.
So yeah, there was a bit of accumulation of heat from summer, and it was, remember you saying this is a very different experience from my first cleanse.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was just way easier to put it into. I didn't have like the strong cravings like I did in the first cleanse I did with you, and I didn't struggle as much. Like in the first cleanse, it felt like I was like really needed to have some self-control where I'm like, okay, like I actually don't need that. Whereas this cleanse, I felt more full after the meals, and it wasn't as big of a struggle to, in the second part of the cleanse, to limit the foods.
Yes.
But yeah, and it was way easier. And what I found transitioning from the cleanse week to the rejuvenation week was, it was a slower process. Whereas the first time I cleansed with you, it was like, okay, give me some of like the foods that I was restricting.
Right.
But yeah, this past cleanse, it was more like, okay, like I really want to slow this down and eat foods and really see how it makes me feel. So I was able to do that. And I feel like this past cleanse, it was easier to maintain it.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the learning journey, because when you do have that food that doesn't serve you, you feel it in your body. You're like, okay, I feel the negative effect of this. So maybe I limit this food and only have it occasionally rather than having it all the time. So I just think that's part of the learning journey. And then as we continue with cleanses, and I remember you saying this to me, that you really feel more in tune with your body and listening to what your body needs, right?
Yeah, that was a huge piece of this last cleanse of, just listening to my body and feeling what the foods do to my body. And that was probably like the biggest takeaway from this past cleanse.
Right. And also, the amount of food is a big thing. I think we learn, like in the first cleanse, you learn to feel the signs of hunger. Prior to this cleanse, there was like a concern about snacking in the evening when you're chilling, or emotional eating, which can be a tendency of the kapha dosha, right? Maybe if there's emotions coming up, suppressing it with comfort eating and so on. So you recognize that.
Yeah, definitely with the second cleanse that I did with you, because I was definitely a nighttime snacker, and I will blame my boyfriend for that. Because he likes to snack, and I clearly don't have strong enough willpower sometimes. And I'm like, okay, but in the mornings, I do notice, like when I do snack, like say past 7 p.m., I am very sluggish in the morning. It's harder to wake up at the 6 a.m. and it's more hard to get moving. So this was like, it was a very good realization throughout the second cleanse. And it was able to like reset my body in a way where I was always able to recognize it, but this kind of like really made me recognize it, where I can say like, I'm not actually hungry. It is definitely more of a boredom thing, definitely throughout the night snacking.
Yeah. And now you're talking about how you're bringing in herbal teas, and that's helping you in the evening as well to prevent the snacking.
Yes. Yeah. Which has been huge, which was part of the routine that you had suggested for me in the nighttime routine.
Yeah, herbal tea, or even we had talked about too some creativity, because I know you loved doing some creative work as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it is definitely a better way to spend my night. Because and again, it's something I noticed throughout the first cleanse and into the second cleanse, where if I would watch TV for like say an hour or two prior to going to bed, I noticed my sleep quality was worse. Like
Yeah.
I would wake up with like I would wake up feeling tired, and I was able to recognize like when I like say read or journal prior to going to bed, waking up at 6 is not an issue for me. But if I'm like on my phone scrolling or watching TV up until I go to bed, the quality of sleep is much worse.
Right, right. Well, good for you. It's lovely to see all these shifts you're making. So do you feel like you have made a lot of shifts and changes in your life in the past couple of years being on this journey?
Absolutely. I feel like I'm a completely different person since 2020 when I initially moved, and then definitely since 2021 when I got introduced to Ayurveda. Um, Seeing it mostly in the physical way, where prior to having any understanding of like even yoga and Ayurveda, I was going to the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week, definitely working out excessively and thinking I was doing something good for my body, but never really seeing any crazy changes or results. But yeah, so now I've read a book. I think it's called Mind Body Sport by
Yeah,
John Douillard, and that was like
amazing.
a eye opener for me, where it's like you don't have to push your body to the limits. You can,
Exactly.
and then like Ayurveda says, like if you're working out and you have to start breathing through your mouth, you're working out too hard. Like it doesn't need
Yep.
to be intense.
Mm-hmm.
So I've completely revamped my workout routine,
Fantastic.
and yeah, so I'm usually working out like 3 to 4 times a week and adding yoga in there as well. Um, and I feel way better. Like I feel stronger. I have those rest days, and I'm maintaining my body weight figure, and it's been like that for the last couple of years. So
That's great. Well done, you. And how about now that you're studying Ayurveda, are you bringing it into your work at all?
yeah, actually, I have like also conversations with my coworkers about Ayurveda, and they seem to appreciate it with what I have to like the suggestions I have to offer. But I also see it in my work with the clients as well, where
So this is, sorry, just to interrupt you. This is with the social work, just to remind
yes,
people, right?
yeah. So like I work with families where there's conflict, or like the youth are struggling with like depression, anxiety, ADHD, like whatever diagnosis it is. Um, and like in Ayurveda, it's like almost everything can be healed with diet and lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of the times I see the families like they're eating processed foods, not exercising, just like not really doing anything to help themselves. So I'm like, I really encourage like proper nutrition and going out for a walk. And lots of the times I will suggest, because part of the program I'm in is parent teen mediation. So just suggesting to the mom and child to go out for a walk. It gives them time to hang out together, and it's also creating like a good routine, and it's beneficial for their body.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah. Healing in nature and just time without distraction and time to just to be together. That's huge. I can see how Ayurveda would be so beneficial in a social worker setting, that it will help you understand different individual types and then how to make small suggestions in regards to diet and lifestyle.
Yeah, because like it doesn't need to be huge. Like Ayurveda is
Exactly.
like can be very subtle, and just like waking up a little bit earlier, going to bed a little bit earlier, like those little subtle changes can have a huge impact on how your day goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And nobody needs to know that you're introducing the Ayurveda, but you're using those those techniques and those principles in your work, it's fantastic. And it also adds just another layer, right, for you to identify different issues and also bring in different possibilities of helping the family, which is fantastic. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I do find it quite difficult to separate the two. So it's just, there's no way around it. I have to talk about like the diet and lifestyle part of it too.
Yeah. Well, I think it makes it more holistic too. It's great. It's beautiful to bring that into your work. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great. And as we finish up here, is there any tips or advice that you've learned on your journey, Kaela, that you would like to share with others?
I like a few sayings that Ayurveda has. One being like, we're all so aware of the saying of like, you are what you eat. But Ayurveda says you are what you digest. And that was a huge game changer for me because like coming as a personal trainer, it's like I did have like a belief where a calorie is a calorie. Like if you're in that like good zone, you're going to be able to lose weight. But if you're eating a large amount of calories, say like 9 p.m., like your body is going to struggle to digest it and it's just going to create toxins in your body. So it does matter.
It does. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the old philosophy of, energy in, energy out, we can see now different dosha types. That doesn't work for everyone. And it really has to be so individual.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody is different. And like another, piece where they always say is like one person's medicine and is another person's poison. And that is, it is crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just been so wonderful, Kaela, to really watch your journey from when you were starting out in 2021 and seeing you made also such life changes as well by moving a couple of times, and that Ayurveda and yoga were part of that journey and helping you ground and settle. And you've just learned so much. And now not only are you incorporating it into your own lifestyle, but also bringing it into your work. It's really like infiltrated your life and that it's a philosophy and principles you live by.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. I'm very thankful that Ayurveda has been introduced to me and I'm looking forward to where it brings me.
Yeah, so am I. I think it's amazing that, and this is what I love to see, is that people who learn about Ayurveda, feel the changes in their own body, go on then and bring it into their life and share it with people around them, and particularly into your work, your important work as a social worker. It's amazing that you're able to bring these principles and tips in to help people, and you're sharing that, and, and you're passionate about it because you know how much it works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. It's like magic.
Right. Yeah. And the lovely thing is it's logical. It's, it's very easy, as you said. It can be just some simple tips that you're giving a family to help them to, grow together and to help resolve issues that they're going through.
Yeah. When I'm sharing whatever I'm sharing with anybody who really listens, their response is always like, oh, like that makes sense. It's like, it really does.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, Kaela, I want to thank you. It's been a pleasure supporting you and watching you grow on your Ayurvedic journey. And thank you so much for sharing today. It's been lovely to chat with you. I always look forward to our conversations. And I too look forward to see where this journey brings you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and giving me space to share my story.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Kaela, and please check out the show notes for all the links mentioned in this episode. Again, just to remind you, I have an upcoming group discounted cleanse starting January 27th, 2023. So if you want more info or you want to register and book your 90-minute consultation, just click on the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. For the group discounted event starting January 27th, go to the events tab. And if you would like to do a private cleanse and choose your own dates, then visit the programs tab. If you haven't already subscribed or followed the podcast, please do so. And if you would like to rate and review the podcast, I would really appreciate that. You can find me on social media on Instagram and Facebook under Elements Healing and Wellbeing. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.